Hey, boys and girls, weather report for April 12th, 2021. And
Hey,
what we're going to talk about. Oh, Sal. we did a really good takedown Sal's points for his protein improbabilities. And he started this stuff back in November on Standing for Truth's channel. And then he and I was trying to figure out how things went so badly between me and Sal. Like a few months ago, or like last June, I was talking to Sal on his channel and we were having great conversations. And then we got into the fitness thing and that all went really well. But people were warning me that he was called Slimy Sal, like for 10 years before that on blogs and stuff like that. And I was like, no, you got the wrong guy. You know, this guy is, you know, he's obviously really changed. He must be a really nice guy. And they kept telling me, no, be careful, be careful. So I got the same, and I used to give the same warnings to people about Standing for Truth and a few others, you know, that. And I kind of didn't see the whole Sal thing coming. So I've been trying to track down exactly where things went sour between me and Sal. And I have no idea why they call him Slimy Sal. But I think I said something. We did a stream called "Kicking Sal's Ass on Fitness" or something, and I think he was actually on that stream. And it was sort of a joke. It was sort of a punch in the arm. Hey, fuck, I'm gonna kick your ass. So I mean, nothing really bad was meant by it. But then. In this fitness thing, there was a little clip where we were talking about the direction of evolution, and I can play the whole context of the thing. And the first thing I noticed that offended me is that he clipped that out, and he said, "Oh my God, I can't believe that Speed gave this to me." It's like and the expression on his face when I said it, he knew right then that he was going to use that out of context against me. And I could see it. And that's the expression that I clipped for today's show icon, when he had that little smile on his face. So then him and Standing played it about 5 times, and they're just making Speed of pudding, and all this. I mean, they just love to pick on me. They very seldom actually come back with arguments against the arguments that I go after them about, right? They never take me on in the science. They don't want to talk to me about that. They're fucking cowards. They're afraid. That's the only thing I can imagine. They will not come back with any valid criticisms other than to do these little poke fun at you things. So anyway, last night on the stream, I expected Sal to come back against the we didn't say anything bad about Sal at all. And I expected him to come back with, counter, right, to further the conversation. And I sent him a little email and I said, and I called it tapping out because famously Standing for Truth uses this tapping out, cartoons that he makes with Dr. Dan and Erica. And so I said tapping out, and I said, not going to come back on my actual criticism. That was my whole email. Sal Cordova responds, I consider you taunting me via private email is unacceptable spam. Say your stuff publicly. I'm going to block you now. So, I mean, I don't think I was offensive there, was I? I just said, not going to come back on my actual criticism. And then, now, Simos, you caught the part where Danny came in and he was saying that we were questioning Sal's degrees, and Sal actually went to his fireplace. I mean, does everybody keep their degrees on their fireplace mantle? I don't know. Maybe a lot of people do, but
if I had a master's, I would.
Okay.
Well, I've got a master's, and I don't know where it is.
Yeah. In your defense, anyway.
A like a business degree or whatever. I don't know where it is. It's just, I know I have it. I don't, if you question my credentials, I'll say, okay, you question my credentials.
Right. And
I don't have this need to affirm myself through a piece of paper.
Fireplace mantle affirmations or whatever. Well, it's at his mom's place, so I can see why she would have her son's degrees on the fireplace. I would if my
I've
son's
got the paw print of a lion that my son bought for me when he went on a trip to Uganda on my mantelpiece. That's about it.
I've got a stuffed cobra on mine. So,
well, just for the record here, I'd like to say that a master's in applied physics is some achievement. And I don't think anybody that I've heard in this hangout has questioned or said anything different to that. And, I just think this miscommunication, right, and undermining that people have been whispering into Sal's ear is at fault here. Obviously, he's going to be butthurt because people are criticizing his ideas.
Well, all I did was ask what degrees he had because I was questioning his thinking, and then and then we looked it up and we found his. And I admitted he had some degrees. I know he did, right?
Yeah, you said yeah. In the clip they played in that hangout, you specifically say, "I know he's got some degrees, but I don't know what they are."
Right, and then there was some. Okay, a couple days ago, I said, I'm inviting you to be a guest on my StreamYard broadcast. And I said, let's see. I said, we're going to be talking about you, so it's only fair that I invite you. And then I don't know, he sent me a paper link and I don't know what else. Let's see. Oh, also, you came up with some really interesting stuff the other day. Thank you for at least trying, unlike the rest of the Brain Trust. But have you ever seriously tried to figure out how things like the NLS and the zinc fingers could have evolved? Have you ever really listened to old Earth creationists like Cy Gart? Has anything to do with your belief? It has nothing to do with your belief and faith in God. Rather, it's just a bit of interpretation on biblical timelines. Why die on that hill? So I sent him that email. And then there was another earlier. Now, there's an earlier fiasco where Sal was talking about how he had been rejected at a school or something for he wanted to go in and teach children about creationism, and they rejected him. And then John Peterson, with his mic turned way down, made this little comment, right? That something about him being unfit. Maybe there's other reasons why they don't want you to teach children. That's all John said. And then Emery Moyna picked that up and he made a really big deal. Nobody would have noticed that joke if Emery had not picked it up, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden Sal's butthurt about that. And so I said, Sal, we need to straighten this out. And he said he didn't want to talk to me anymore. He wasn't ever going to talk to me again. And it just went on and on. So, I mean, it's really, I didn't really do anything to the man. You know?
Well, again, if there's people whispering in his ear, then you don't necessarily have to have done something. All he has to do is leave the people that are whispering in his ear, right? But, and that seems to happen quite a lot, I would say, in both directions, to be fair. I mean, but I do think that's a poor joke if John made that as a joke. Obviously, it's a poor joke, so...
Yeah, and he got yelled at about it right after the broadcast, and people have been told over and over, you don't bring the P word or the R word up on my goddamn broadcast. I don't like it. I don't like you to even use it as an example for morality or any of that stuff, right? We can think of other shit, we don't have to talk about it. So John and John admitted, that he probably shouldn't have said it, but he didn't really mean. We were talking about Sal educating children on creationism, and I called it child abuse. And I think it's child abuse because what you're doing to the kids' minds, right?
I mean, I think it's fairly simple, isn't it? If you intend to teach it as a science, then you may have a point there, Speed. If you intend to teach it as divinity or comparable religion, then okay, they've got a point.
Right. So that's my point, is that they want to teach it as science, and that's what Sal wants to do. His big thing with this whole channel, the reason he wants to make it kid friendly, is because he's going after children, and he's going after university students, and he's trying to tell them that, oh no, creation is true and they're lying to you, and don't listen to the lies that the teachers are telling you. That's his whole deal, right? And I consider that child abuse. I'm sorry. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a strong phrase to use there personally. I understand.
I don't think it's that. I do not think it's a strong word. You can abuse a child.
I understand what you mean by it, and I would agree that if you're trying to teach it as scientific fact in terms of applied physics, then for sure there's some contradictions there going on. However, as I say, and that's my kind of issue that I have here. Abuse is just too strong a word. And also the other point I just quickly make is that, when somebody puts up an argument, like Darth, right? Darth Dawkins. Okay, now we all, in our side of the community, we know that these are rubbish arguments because they end up as circularity and special pleading. And so they are bad arguments. However, they're good to test your mettle against, right? As atheists, it's good for us to be able to understand the argument and have the comebacks and arguments against it. And in some sense, and I'm not saying this doesn't apply to kids, but in some sense, it's good to have these people in the community which do put stronger arguments down that we have to debunk in order to sharpen the tools that we use. I know that's a convoluted way of looking at it, and it doesn't directly address or negate what you're saying, Speed. Okay?
Yeah, and it's, and if they present both sides of the argument to them as two arguments, and they admit that there's another side to it, that's fine. But I don't think that's what they're doing. They're trying to tell them that there's some big conspiracy among non-Christians or non-fundamentalist scientists to give them lies, to lie to them. And if you listen to Sal's channel, you'll find a lot of that. And that I consider unforgivable, to do that to children who do not have other sources. If that had been done to me, it may have changed my life and my thinking entirely. Fortunately, I had not been abused in such that manner, so I was able to think. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to use the harsh term. We have a disagreement about that. So anyway,
fair enough.
Yeah. So let's see. There was I wanted to play. Well, we could play those clips. I think the interesting thing. Well, maybe I should show this one first. Let me see here. Sure. So John predicted that we were going to do something on this stream, and I think he's right this time.
Well, yeah. I mean, I wonder where he got that information from. I'm just questioning. Was it Jesus?
I think it was Danny.
Oh, right. Okay.
I think it was Danny. Danny inspired a lot of this stuff. But anyway, I thought this was Emery Moyna said some brilliant things here.
Like, what?
What did he say here? Oh, it's muted. Could you hear that? Could you guys hear it?
Yeah, I did. Some very high pitch, something or another.
Garbage. This is nonsense. It's non-logical.
Oh, shit.
You're on triple speed.
Hang on a second.
You're on helium.
Okay, now we're doing. Now we got to shut up. Okay, but
Like, what? Like, what?
That's what everyone had to say.
Oh dear. It's helium, like I said.
Yeah, there's some parts in here. Oh, okay. There's the Cerberus Hex Bash.
You know, who's actually kind of a moron too. Is it Cerberus Rex, guys? You know,
dude, Cerberus Rex is one of the biggest idiots. That guy. Okay, he calls everybody child and boy, right? Today.
Anyway, there's that which surprised me.
Interesting how he used Cerberus instead of whatever he normally calls him.
What does he call him? Kerberos?
Well, normally, yeah, he says something like, I don't know, pronounces the Latin with a K, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
But why is it different to these guys? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Okay, it's almost like he knows that he's doing it.
Yeah, and there's a part that really pissed me off here.
Oh, no, don't be paranoid. That's just a bunch of propaganda. I would never pack the court. No, I would not use executive action on an unconstitutional moves on the Second Amendment. I would never do that.
Okay, so I've got, I got to turn the speed down here.
I mean, really? Well, you did both of them in the same week.
Okay, unconstitutional gun control executive orders. What did Biden do exactly? So Biden had a bunch of executive orders. One of them was to make it easier for states to pass red flag laws. My daughter was murdered last year by an insane person. And these guys are going on about the police and, you know, that whole fucking thing really pisses me off because my daughter was murdered by a crazy person, right? Who had a gun, and it was a registered gun. And the police had no means or no motivation to go and check that this crazy person, who she had a restraining order against, who had been the subject of no less than 20 police reports saying that he was unhinged and he was stalking people in the condo. And the police could not go in and search that man's apartment and take his fucking gun away. And so Biden passed some sort of executive order that gives us some hope of having a fucking law in place that if a person is nuts, that if a person is exhibiting absolute psychotic behavior, that you can go and take their gun from them. And that's what John is talking about. And John, you can go fuck yourself. Just like, God damn these people. And they went on
John
about,
really stepped in it.
Yeah, he stepped in it. Anyway, these assholes. And then they're going on and they're talking a little later about how if real men like conservatives who believed in the Bible had been on the Titanic, they would be armed and they'd be the one. He was sort of implying that people on a cruise ship that was going down would be the first ones on the lifeboat because they were armed or something like that. And there was a whole bunch of crap about gender, like biblical gender roles apparently mean that women should be cleaning the kitchen. And this whole stream is filled with garbage of that nature. And then they're going on about, you know, about the riots in Minneapolis and all of this stuff, and how Antifa people are really tiny. That, you know, John is towers over them in height and weight, and Antifa people are really small, and they're talking about how wonderful the police are, and how brave the police are, and all this bullshit. And these are the same fucking police that took 4 hours to go in and get my daughter's body, or even to find out if she was alive. I mean, this whole fucking thing just pissed me off really badly.
And they were saying this, day before yesterday?
On this whole fucking stream.
So
they were going
John
on
is still going on about how much bigger he is than those lefties.
Yeah, than the lefties, yeah. You know, he says, oh, they're $120 at most, you know, and he was talking to the police. He went to the, I think the Republican convention or something, looking for some action, and he was depressed because it was boring or something, and just one thing after another. I mean, this is all this macho fucking parading around, and then here he is, fucking John is there.
Hey, what's up, bro? So, are you mentally retarded? Because a lot of the things you just
Wait,
said
hold on. You shouldn't say that word on this channel.
Is not what I said. So you can stop lying, and you can actually.
Did somebody remove him?
I didn't. Well, obviously, I don't have my powers, but
okay.
But John, like,
hold on. Mentally retarded, and
that
I don't
gets
think the
real.
Holy Spirit inspired him to do that. So,
well, no, John.
Maybe he needs to pray and get himself together, and then maybe he can come in and.
Well, no, look, you should get
over 21.
Yeah, you should let him back in. But John, look, I know I know. There's a lot of fucking tension between you and Speed. You should just fuck already. But
okay, slow your roll, John, and come back in.
Yeah, just
slow your roll. Okay, so what did you say about Biden? He passed an unconstitutional law, and you put your foot in something that's very personal to me.
Actually, I didn't. I didn't say he passed the law. I said he issued an executive order. The context in which I was stating it was in regards to removal of due process. Is the entire point that was made. If you actually paid attention and had the ability to comprehend what I said, I never claimed that everybody who ever does anything and is a nut should have guns. I've never stated that. I am fully in favor of people like the person who murdered your daughter. And by the way, as I recall, I expressed my sympathy to you on that when it happened, and I prayed for you. So for the rest of you little clown shows in this stream right now, why don't you let me and Speed talk and keep your freaking mouth shut? In this context,
I mean,
in this context,
sure, but you're earning it as fuck.
I'll thank you for literally not being able to keep your mouth shut for 10 seconds. Awesome. In this context of the man that murdered your daughter,
yes,
if all the things you described were correct of his, which I'm not doubting, of his actions, then there's already laws in place where he could have had things removed. Like that.
Why did they use them?
That's not the point.
The police told me that they couldn't.
Okay, so you actually think that if some how many criminal convictions did he have?
He didn't have any.
He had no criminal convictions, but he's under a restraining order.
He was under a restraining order, yes, from my daughter.
Had he violated the restraining order?
Several times, yes.
Okay, so under the law, if you have an active restraining order which you have violated, then all sorts of your rights get absolutely removed from the equation by default under current law. So the point I was making in relation to the red flag laws that Joe Biden is doing is that he wants the red flag laws, if you go and read them, remove the necessity of any kind of due process from the equation. Somebody can just be like, hey, I don't like that guy. And a judge, without any opportunity to defend oneself or to address the issue, they can come without warrant or without due process being executed and take stuff away from you. And the point that I was making is in the context of the Constitution of the United States, there are provisions in place to prevent this type of potential abuse of power, which we already know there's already been plenty of examples in this where it's attempted to be executed in states that have already passed these laws, where there's been massive negative ramifications. And they've been used as revenge mechanisms or to go after people who, let's say, weren't nuts, but they'd pissed somebody off.
Can you point to a case where that's happened?
Dude, use Google. Okay, it's documented. Now,
yeah, it's documented by who? Because most red flag laws, they have a provision where you can petition the court to get your weapons back. It would happen in a case where, like, if I went crazy or I had dementia and I started saying crazy stuff, my sons could call the police, have my weapons removed. I would have to go to court to get them back. Okay. Now, how often do you think that's going to be abused? How often are we?
It's already been abused, and there's also documentation that people who have had this kind of thing happen have not been able to recover their weapons. Or they had to spend ridiculous amounts of money. But that's not the point. The point that I'm making in all of this, and the reason I'm even here dealing with you idiots, is the way you were framing what was being said was categorically incorrect on a variety of fronts in the context and the intent in which it was being discussed.
And you are correct
in relation to the campaign promises of Joe Biden. It was being discussed in the relation to, no, I will not pack the court. Oh, wait, let's issue an executive order, start a commission on how we can pack the court. Oh, no, I won't infringe on Second Amendment rights. Oh, wait, not only am I going to infringe on them, I'm going to use executive action to do it versus traditional legislation in regards to the Second Amendment of the United States is the point that was being made. We were discussing this from a conceptual perspective, and I'm not sure if that goes completely over your head or
what does the executive order
tragedy that you think that somehow we should just suspend everything because there are freaking nut jobs out there and not look at other ways to address this versus making blanket actions that are in direct. They're the talking points of those who wish to completely remove the entire premise of the Second Amendment from the equation.
Okay, are you done? Are you done for a second now? Okay. Number one, yes, you put your foot in it, and I went off because this is very personal to me, right? And it pisses me off. Now hang on a second, John. I'm still fucking. God damn it! You're over talking me. I'm trying to tell you that yes, I did overreact to what you said. Yes, I did overreact. Okay. And
so
you put your foot in it. Just quiet. Okay, the red flag law that basically Biden making it easier to get red flag laws passed is something I am totally behind. I don't give a fuck if somebody maybe uses it as revenge or whatever in those one-off cases. As often as that happens, I do care that the law has some provision. There's a couple things I care about in a red flag law. Number one, I don't want them to attach other bullshit laws, like I got to lock my guns up in a safe to it. I want them to do a real clear law on red flags, right? And it doesn't matter if I lose my gun for a couple weeks, unless, of course, somebody's trying to kill me and they take my gun away. I mean, there's all sorts of problems with those red flag laws. But if they're written in such a way that people do that, if they do it for like revenge or for some shitty reason, they should either pay court costs or go to jail.
So those people that you're referring to, are those people usually nuts?
Who?
Okay, let's think very.
Usually it's people that beat their wives and threaten them.
Let's try to use our intellect for just a second, right? If I am somebody who is if I'm an asshole and I really do have the intent of hurting you, right?
Yep.
And I know for a fact that you are armed to the gills, right?
Yep.
But I want to kill you.
Yep.
Is it reasonable to conclude that I'm going to do everything it's at my potential disposal to put you in a weak position in which I can leverage take you out?
Has that ever happened with red flag laws?
Yeah, it happened in Colorado, I think it was, and a crazy ex-husband killed his wife. But my point is that we're in the early stages of this being even an option, right? And I'm saying from a historic perspective, the nut jobs always do everything they can to jump through the loopholes, right? And to take advantage of it. This is a known fact. And your point about what California did with like adding all these extra provisions for your guns must be locked up. You must not have your magazine in the weapon.
Right.
Bullets must be separate. Otherwise, you're a felon. I mean, there's people that are in prison in California right now because they didn't have their gun in a safe. Like they had a permit. They legally owned it. They weren't felons. They weren't in any way, shape, form, or fashion, anything else restricted. And then now they're in prison because of stuff like this, where people have gone off their rocker with laws to supposedly for gun control reasons. Right. And now people who weren't breaking the law are now breaking the law.
Yeah, and I agree with you.
So
that's bullshit, right?
So this is my point. All this, Speed, is as you just admitted,
you just got really weak.
Your personal. Yeah, I know somebody's calling me. I'm on my phone.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So I don't discount the fact that you went through great personal tragedy.
I apologize for going off.
The point I was making is that and you need to use your brain, is that you, no ifs, ands, or buts about it, you misrepresented me because of your emotional response to a topic.
I did.
Thank you. And that's,
okay. Now, what can we work out about these red flag laws? Now, here's the situation, John. He bought a gun legally in 2008 when he was probably still relatively sane. But then for a whole year, he had done all kinds of crazy shit. Now, after my daughter was killed, it took them 6 weeks to get feedback from the ATF to find out that he had legally registered that gun. Now, why in the hell do we register guns if it takes the cops 6 weeks to find out if you have a gun?
So you ever wonder about the ineptitude of government, and yet people such as yourself want to give more power and control to inept fools?
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, for case in point for me, right? Like, so I grew up in the UK, and I remember the Dunblane massacre and how the gun control advocates then used it to basically put the final nail in the coffin for gun control in the UK, right?
Right.
And I also remember that it worked, but secondarily, violent crime in the UK actually skyrocketed. And I remember like cops coming through, people had guns that were registered and all that kind of stuff. They had to hand them over. It was nuts. But the violent crime, and specifically hot home invasion, meaning, for those who don't know, hot means you're actually at the house and when people decide to break in. Hot home invasions went up like 5,000% in the first year. Why would that be? Oh, wait, I'm the criminal. I'm the nut. I now know that people don't have a way to defend themselves. I might not have one either, but all I got to do is show up with baseball bats and, freaking chainsaw or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to win, right? Like, it's almost guaranteed that I'm going to win. And this is where I think the utilizing horrible scenarios like what happened with your daughter to try and to push the whole guns bad, all guns must be removed, otherwise we'll have crazy violent action all the time. Like if you look at the data, and like the United States is constantly framed by idiots that we have this crazy amount of violence and compared to the rest of the world and stuff. Like if you actually look at the data from where it is, the per 100,000 deaths by fire, all that kind of stuff is higher than some countries. Don't get me wrong on that. But if you actually look at where all that, the vast majority of that violence is generated, it's in inner cities, and it's gang violence, and it's in little tiny microcosms. But if you remove that from the equation, we have way lower violent crime than the vast majority of the planet.
And if you remove drugs from the equation, we would have way lower. I mean, this bullshit over drug dealers killing each other for some fucking reason. I don't know why. But anyway, the whole point, we were in the process of getting my daughter a carry permit to protect her against this man, but nobody ever thought that he would have had a gun because he was so crazy. But what I'm interested in is a reasonable common sense law that would have allowed the police to do something like take his gun away. And my daughter would still be alive if that had happened. And there has to be a way to write a law that doesn't have a lot of bullshit attached to it, that would just save people who are in jeopardy from somebody that's like, we know like a couple people from up north who are brain dead from drugs, and they're talking crazy shit. And those people should have their guns taken away. Do you agree with that?
I don't disagree with it. I mean, I think you need to look at what are the laws there. It's like, in Tennessee, for example, I know if you violate restraining order, like your stuff gets taken away.
Yeah, for some reason they didn't do that. I don't know.
So I think you might need to ask yourself then, who's in charge?
They didn't know he had a gun.
Well, no. If you're violating they might not have a gun, but my point is, if you're violating restraining orders, you get arrested, and there's provisions for like searching your house for weapons.
Well, when she called on one of the violations of the restraining order, the policeman actually asked Ray, the guy who killed her, if he should get a restraining order against her, because the police inferred that she was harassing him because he had done crazy shit. I mean, it's a mess, John, and this is a real hotbed topic for me. You can understand if your daughter had been killed.
Oh, but trust me, I totally get where you're coming from. And I guess kind of the point. A good friend of mine was shot in the head and dropped in the dirt in Talladega, Alabama. I mean, like I understand this. He lived with me, and I was talking to him on the phone driving from work, and if I had gotten there like literally minutes earlier, I probably wouldn't have this conversation. I'd probably also be dead. So I mean, he was grabbed by some drug dealers, and I mean, I was on the phone, like we were planning where we were going. I'm like driving home. I'm like 4 miles from my house. I pulled in, the door's open, and he's gone. They didn't find his body for 2 weeks. So I mean, I trust me, I get it. The point I'm making is people want to look at the very end action that it's like we want to put a Band-Aid on the problem, right? We have more and more people having psychological issues. We have people going into crazy drug catalyzed breakdowns. I mean, all this kind of stuff. We have skyrocketing rates of depression, all these different things that are happening, and people want to be like, "Oh, it's the guns problem," rather than making the primary focus. Why did the human snap?
Mental health. Yeah.
Can I say,
in the context of the amount of capital that is spent in the United States, we should be able to solve these problems. Yet the money does not actually go. And case in point with like Biden's latest spending bill, it's like, let me use an example, right? Like, oh, we're going to spend, what was it, like 3.2 trillion or something like that. And it's going to be on infrastructure. And you actually go and look at it, and it's like 12.5% actually goes to infrastructure projects. And like at this point, when you look at the homeless issue, for example, I've done fundraisers and done stuff for like homeless people here in Nashville, and just case in point, the poverty fund in the state of Nashville is $14 million a year, right? Somehow we have no way, and that's just the poverty fund, right? That's the public money. We're not even talking about all the private money. And then somehow we have a skyrocketing homeless problem in Nashville. Yeah. And I'm like, for $14 million not one time, per year, you could go and buy an apartment complex for the homeless people.
Right.
And like set up partnerships for them to have jobs. Like one of the number one reasons that people are homeless is they don't have enough, they live hand to mouth. They're panhandling day to day. Some is for drugs, some is just for survival. And they never have enough money to do a down payment and like first month rent on an apartment. They never have that much money. And like there's a homeless couple that I help, been helping for like the last 4 years. They live in a piece of crap hotel, right? And day to day they go out, sell newspapers and such to get enough money to come back and hand the owner $70, right? So they're paying more money per month than it would cost to live in a badass apartment.
Yeah.
But they can't get approved to get an apartment.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's just so goddamn ridiculous. But I'm hoping to get together with a bunch of gun owners and come up with a red flag law that makes sense. That would have changed things. That's my hope.
Can I jump in really quick?
Yeah, I got to open it up to some other people here, John.
Tanya? Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Around January 10th, my cousin, like, it's weird, right? Nobody knew he was depressed. There were no signs. Come to find out, he shot himself while driving. Now, should I blame the gun or him? But I guess blame is the wrong word, because when somebody commits suicide, you don't really want to blame them. So you kind of have to, because like, you know what I mean? And like I'm not trying to talk bad about my cousin or devalue his death, honestly, but obviously.
Yeah, blaming the gun in that case, and I've had, I am armed to the teeth, and I've had suicidal ideation most of my life, and I've had concern from relatives over that. But
I mean, you had concern from me, Speed. Remember?
Yeah, but the truth is, you can hang yourself too. Can't.
Okay. Speed. Yeah. Don't make me come over there and and get rid of all the rope.
You may have
to get rid of everything. Jesus.
Anyway, no, the whole thing, it always becomes about guns, and I think it should be more about mental health, and it should be about reasonable practices by the police, because the police, in a lot of ways, their hands are tied. Now, here's what the police told me. That man had been sent to the hospital and evaluated. Well, because of HIPAA laws, the hospital cannot contact the police and tell them what the result was. So there's no communication between two key departments in our government. You know, the medical community and the police. They can't communicate because of the fucking HIPAA laws. And it's like,
okay, what are the HIPAA laws? And I'm sure. I'm sure.
Privacy. Privacy.
Well, I mean, I'm sure. You know, I'm sure there should be like a loophole or backdoor where where
but there isn't.
Well,
but there isn't. It's like, my God.
Speed. There is a provision for that.
Apparently not in Minnesota. They told me that they weren't allowed. Okay, what is it?
I mean, it's HIPAA privacy regulations allow hospitals to notify law enforcement of the patient's actions if notification is necessary to avert serious or immediate threat to the health and safety of the public.
So they lied to me. The police lied to me then, because they
basically
said they
yes.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, we'll leave that dark topic behind.
I think the last thing I'll say, and I think something people need to just remember too, is we have politicians that implement ridiculous amounts of completely stupid laws and regulations, and then they expect cops to be their enforcement agents for their little personal fiefdom. And very often they prevent the good cops, and don't get me wrong, there's plenty of bad ones. They prevent the good cops from actually being able to focus on actually helping to stop the bad from happening, and get them so consumed with a bunch of other stupid crap that and they expect us to actually be able to see a solution to the problems. It makes absolutely no sense. But then they get everybody, when bad things happen, people get pissed, and then politicians are like, "Oh, sweet, now we've got a new tragedy that we can leverage to initiate some new little power grab that we want to pull off."
Yeah, I don't know what the hell went wrong, but boy, shit went wrong. You know, she had 75 emails to the city, the police, to the condominium. She had there were like 20 calls from her and other people. This guy himself called the police a number of times, and they knew he was nuts. He called the police on the cable company because they were burying cables outside his apartment, and he told the police that they were spying on him. So I mean, what the fuck?
How in the fuck? Okay, he was clearly delusional, paranoid. It's just how.
Yeah, he was paranoid.
Why wasn't he?
You know, this guy
is
was so sick that I'm not actually even angry with him, because he was so fucking sick, and I knew about his sickness for so long that I'm not angry at him, because he was
angry at the system.
He was delusional, you know. The guy didn't know what the fuck he was doing. He blew his own head off, 5 minutes later. So, I mean, shit. I don't know. I just, my hope is that we can use some common sense and have common sense gun laws. And, I really get riled when they talk about lowering my magazine size. I get riled when they talk about me locking my gun up in a safe, or keeping the fucking, keeping the bullets stored somewhere else, because that's stupid.
Well, but I mean, speed. It's I understand why why you're passionate about this issue. It is personal, but to me it sounds like you want your cake and eat it too. Like you want gun laws, but then you don't want gun laws.
I want common sense. I want the police to have some goddamn power to do something about it when somebody has clearly gone off the rails.
Well, yeah, I agree with you, but they can't do shit, or they won't do shit, I should say.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, John, sorry, I did go off the handle. I flew off the handle on that one. So.
Well, I'm glad we could clear that up.
Okay. Moving on. Anybody else have anything to say?
Well, I just think John could approach things a little better, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, well, listen to you guys on your streams really riles me sometimes, I'm telling you, and I'm sure it works both ways. So,
I think it's just the to me it's the misrepresentation that gets me a little bit. I think there's common decency in the community for right of reply, and I'm really glad that John has turned up and that you've given him the right to reply, because it means that these kind of things can be talked about in a way which isn't so explosive, right? And it's,
because we need a goddamn common sense solution. We don't need to fight about it, you know.
Yeah, and I just want to just praise John for that. I disagree with virtually everything except what he said today, and I would agree with him about Don Blaine as well. So I'm really glad to hear that, because you know, I never thought I would be agreeing with you so wholeheartedly. So kudos.
Yeah. Now we can go back to disagreeing about everything else, John. So
I mean, you can still disagree about evolution.
Oh yeah. Anyway, I think that covers about everything I had to cover today. So I don't have anything else.
Are we ending early?
We could.
I mean, why?
Well, unless you guys want to go on and talk about something else.
I think it would be a bit futile, not futile, but petty to start bringing up minor differences compared to the one that you guys have just sorted out. So perhaps.
Yeah, I think the thing is that, you know, I have I don't know how to explain it, but I'm sliding more and more to the left socially, but I'm still a conservative in a lot of areas. And one of them, you know, is in gun controls, and, you know, the sort of, I don't know. So I relate to conservatives on a hell of a lot of stuff, but some of the way they put their foot down and absolutely refuse to budge on anything at all having to do with gun control drives me fucking crazy, because, I mean, I'm a legal gun owner. I'm, you know, I've gone through the courses. I've, you know, got a carry permit. I've done all the shit I need to do, and I had to jump through hoops to buy the last pistol I bought. I had to be approved by the, you know, the fucking FBI and all that stuff, and I had to wait, you know, for a day or two to get the gun. I mean, there's nothing wrong with any of that. I don't. So I don't know. So I'm a weird mix of, like a good friend of mine called me a polar opposite of myself.
Yeah.
I don't know. So anyway.
It's real tricky. Again, in this country, we don't really have guns in the same way. We have guns, but of course, they're owned illegally. And that's probably a good thing in the respect that they know that they can't open carry, and it's frowned upon to have them. But that doesn't mean that people don't. You know, I think many misunderstandings can be made. And more importantly, for me personally, one of the things I worry about with gun ownership is that everything's great in the normal sense, right? But when society starts stressing and there's a downturn in the economy, and people start really finding themselves in desperate situations, then the strain on mental health increases, and that puts more people into rash behavior, which, if they have easy access to a gun, then leads to bigger consequences. It's not that they wouldn't do it anyway. It's not that they wouldn't knife and do it anyway. It's not that they wouldn't throw themselves off bridges in front of trains and cars and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, people get desperate, and mental illness is a really problematic thing. But it really helps with some kind of safety net. Like John was saying, you know, homeless people, right? They get put in a position where it becomes really difficult to rebuild just to the first level of stability, where they have somewhere to live and an address for which they can register for further services, or to say, look, I'm a stable person, give me a job. And that leads on then to more problems, right? So for that sense, I think the safety net that we have in the UK really helps, really helps. And it stops a lot of petty crime that would otherwise lead to more serious conditions and more serious problems in society. So I can see both sides, and I'm not American, so I don't know the situation. But I decry the fact that people just think that socialism is some form of communism, because I don't see it that way at all.
Yeah, Christopher just gave me thank you for this link, because I do want to get in touch with some people about trying to do something about a red flag law in Minnesota that makes sense, or something to do about police procedure, or something that will just make me feel like I've done something. I mean, it's too fucking late for my daughter, but Jesus Christ, you know. Anyway,
Here, I thought this channel was supposed to stay away from politics.
yeah, we are supposed to, but then the whole thing just kind of erupted on me, and it does every now and then.
So we got so sick of Otangelo that we decided to invite LPP onto a stream. What happened here?
Well, he came on by himself, so anyway.
Oh, that's
Yeah, but we cleared it up, and he was right. What he said did not deserve the crazy response that I had to it, so he was probably
Well, I mean,
is that to imply that some of the responses we do give him are appropriate, or what?
John.
I mean, it depends on the topic, doesn't it? Like if it's evolution, then yeah, but
yeah, most of what he says is pretty fucking bad and bullshit. But you know, I definitely went off the rails on that one. So
that's fine.
Yep.
I don't think you did, Speed, because this bullshit of they're going to take our fucking guns away and stuff.
I know.
I have lost probably more people to fucking guns than probably most people in this room.
Yeah.
And for this piece of shit to fucking say anything, we don't need to make gun rights a little more stricter, he can go fuck himself.
Yeah, that's kind of what I said, I guess, originally, but yeah.
Maybe I misheard him, but didn't he also say he lost somebody to gun violence?
He did too, yeah.
Yeah, that woman in Colorado that got shot by her ex-husband. Yeah, she was she was a part of my family at one point.
Really?
Yeah, and for that piece of shit to bring her up pisses me the fuck off.
Listen, are you?
I got two nieces. I got a niece and a nephew that lost their mother to a fucking gun.
Yeah.
My grandmother got shot by a psychopath that was pissed off at my uncle. I lost a best friend to a fucking gunman in a bowling alley. So this motherfucker can kiss my ass. We need stricter gun laws on these people.
Yeah. Yeah, we need some common sense. I don't know.
I really wish I could hug you right now.
Yeah. Damn it.
I'm sorry. It's bullshit fucking stouts come from these motherfuckers. Pisses me off like no tomorrow.
Yeah, when it becomes real, you know, when you you know, when I walked into her condo and her blood was on the fucking floor of the door, I mean, that's about as real as it gets, you know, and I don't know.
Like Speed, that's isn't this stream supposed to be isn't this stream supposed to be fun and upbeat to forget the problems that we had throughout the day?
Yeah, but every now and then it gets real.
Yeah.
Life is real.
Yeah.
It's worth highlighting and talking about things which mean a lot. And,
well, for the last 5 fucking months, like every night when I go to sleep, it's my daughter, you know, and what happened to her. And every other day I go through this, or I guess it's in a cycle of about every twice a week now, where I'll watch a movie about some father and a daughter on TV, and it just fucking all comes back. You guys go ahead and talk for a minute.
So, yeah, how you? I don't know what to say now. I'm laughing from nervousness.
It feels like any topic I mention is somehow going to find its way back spiraling into this issue.
Yeah, I don't quite know how to bring up a topic.
Yeah, it's not even just that. It's any topic we go into, it feels like it's dismissing.
Let's talk about Sal Cordova. Slimy
Let's
Sal.
hope he doesn't have a daughter.
Sorry, guys.
I mean, no, it's fine.
No need to apologize.
I
I'll
try
reach
and
out
keep
to
my
you on
personal
Discord
shit
later.
out of this, out of fucking YouTube, but
Yep.
just hearing Maddox fucking spout the bullshit, pissing me the fuck off.
Yeah. Yeah. As
Well, he got
I mean,
to
I
express
think-
himself, and you got to express yourself.
yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Sal Cordova? Anyone?
Sure, let's get on to
Sure.
Sal.
I mean,
Slimy Sal.
yeah,
Reserve.
it's,
Okay, we got to take this up a notch, like as an upbeat. Because,
Oh yeah, good luck.
yeah, yeah, fuck.
So what did Sal do now?
You put an envelope over most of the shit you're feeling on a day-to-day basis, and I've been doing that pretty well for the last 5 months, so I'm going to try to do that now. So anyway, I wanted Sal Cordova to come back at me about the zinc finger thing and to explain a little bit about why he thinks proteins can't evolve. Oh, there was a part I got to play for you guys. Where the fuck is it?
Uh-oh.
Cultural Revolution. Oh shit, where was it? Maybe God damn it, I don't have it. Constitutional gun control. We got armed. Destroying people's faith. Oh, this was interesting. Let me see here.
My stance is Rob Rowe, inspiring philosophy. What you're doing is you better be 100 million% sure you're right. Same for Swami Das, because what you're advocating is destroying people's faith.
Yeah,
I mean, people will walk away because you're trying to persuade them. There are a lot of people that interpret the Bible as either old earth creation or young earth creation. And if you start advertising and you start saying that their science is flat earth, you better be 100 million% sure your facts are correct.
Yeah.
Because
now, wasn't that kind of weird? Like, he's implying that Swami Das, who is an old earth creationist, right?
Yeah.
Or an old earth Christian, he's destroying people's faith because so many people, I mean, what is he saying? That people that believe in
all
the
these
literal
people who have faith are going to have their faith destroyed because they have faith and an old earth creationist viewpoint. Is that what he's saying?
Yeah.
You know what's kind of...
But they have faith.
Yeah.
You know, the part that like really bothers me about that is instead of saying like, oh, young earth creation could be a point like that's actually been misconstrued by the church and needs doctrinal reformation, right? No. It's, oh, what you're doing is toxic. What you're doing is going to cause people to move away from faith, not, challenging the authority of the church. And not saying, for instance, maybe the way we've been viewing this needs to change. Or maybe the view we have is a little too stringent. And because of that, when people find out that that information is inaccurate, they challenge the authority of the church.
Well, I'm confused. I am confused about what he's saying here. Is he saying that because there's a conflict between old earth and young earth in Christianity, that's destroying people's faith? Or
right.
Is he? So, which is his position? Is he young earth or old earth?
He's young earth.
He's young earth.
So he denies all of geology.
He's saying, don't get me started, please. He's saying then that people that are old earth creationists, right, are destroying people that have young earth creationism.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. I see. Does he understand the difference between Orthodox and Catholicism? Does he understand the difference between Arminian and Calvinism?
Because I don't think so.
You can make the same argument there as well. Calvinists are destroying Arminians' faith, and Arminians are destroying Calvinists' faith. Right. I'm not sure. Maybe this is showing his cognitive, his bias a little bit too much here. Then, again, flat Earth versus globe Earth. I mean, Does he not understand that Catholics accept the old Earth and evolution?
Yeah, it just, that one blew me away. I mean, he was.
So he's trying, by his own logic, he's trying to destroy Catholicism.
I think what they're doing, the young Earth creationists, is, I mean, they're trying to get people to suspend all that they know about science, geology, physics, everything, biology, and they're claiming that we're the ones that are fucking up the faith. I think they are, because if they raise a kid to believe in young Earth creationism, and the kid becomes a geologist and starts really looking into the impossibility of different geological formations happening within 6,000 years, they're going to lose whatever faith they have in whoever taught them the religion, right? So I don't know what the hell.
What they're trying to get people to do is, what they're trying to do with people is to tell like young children not to challenge the authority of Scripture, right? They're saying that we start with the Bible, and anything that disagrees with the Bible, you know, you throw the baby out with bathwater.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay, then, isn't it? Surely, because you know the Catholics.
Unfortunately,
hang on a minute. The Catholics still believe in the Bible, and they believe in evolution and the old Earth.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, most Catholics are okay understanding like that certain genres of the Bible are meant to be metaphorical.
Okay, so it's not about undermining the Bible, then, is it? It's about undermining his interpretation of the Bible.
Right.
Oh, but that's the thing. Some of these people think that it's not a matter of interpreting Scripture. It's that what's in the Bible is what God wrote.
Yeah, well, the Catholics believe that as well.
They believe it's inspired, usually.
Sure, inspired, if you like. I mean, I don't think Sal even would say that God actually penned the Bible.
No, I don't think anybody would say that because it sounds retarded.
Exactly. So it's about, you know, God inspired text, which I think we can all agree that Catholic Christians believe that, you know, the Gospels are inspired by God, right? Even as atheists, we can understand that that's what they believe. Right? So again, he's just kind of undermining his own position here in some respect, because he's saying my interpretation is that I don't want my interpretation of the Bible to be questioned,
right.
even if it's by other Christians, and even if it's by a sect of Christianity which completely dwarfs all other sects of Christianity.
Yeah, essentially, what I think he's doing is he's saying like that his view of Christianity, that his view of like old Earth like creationism, or not old Earth creationism, sorry, young Earth creationism, right, is because it's a view that's been held by people, and you know, apparently they like that view, that it should not be challenged, right? That people like inspiring philosophy, which are trying to like trying to insist that you don't take the Bible quite so seriously.
Oh, that's not the right word to use there. You're gonna have to ask you to make another word up there.
What's that?
To not interpret the Bible quite so literally, I guess.
Thank you.
Because that's kind of the point. But I mean, seriously and literally are kind of equivocal in this point, because Genesis is the foundation.
From our position, yeah, but I need to be fair to these guys. I need to make it sure that we're talking about two different kinds of interpretation. And to say one is more serious than the other is to judge the interpretation. And we're either agnostic or atheist, and therefore we don't get a say on which is serious. We get a say on literalism, but we don't get a say on seriousness.
The thing is, like, this doesn't appear to be an issue that's essential to salvation, so I don't understand why, why there's this much hubbub, why there's this much fighting over this particular issue.
Well, I guess the issue that he's pointing out is about doubt. So if you cause doubt this is what is my interpretation of what he's saying. That if you cause doubt in a Christian, then you're undermining the religion, and I don't see that in any way, shape, or form, because it seems to me.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Thomas.
Seems to me inherent in faith is the ability to accept doubt. Right, that's the strength of a Christian. is that they have doubt, but they have faith, which pulls them through.
Yeah, but here's the problem with the Yeks, the young Earth creationists. They think that any teaching of traditional science, I mean, science that is accepted by 99% of all scientists, is a threat to their faith. I mean, they have carved out a huge problem for themselves, right? So they have to come back against every ordinary college, against every ordinary scientist who's writing a paper about evolution or geology or anything having, like, I've been watching geology videos, and I can't tell you how many times they said millions of years. And I've heard it in the last month, probably 500 times. And so for them, that is what's threatening their faith. Science is. And it's like that position alone makes them anti-science, which leads to things like anti-vax. And I think you would find a real correlation between those two things in this group of Yeks, right? I mean, what the hell are they trying to do? They're crazy.
And very specifically with fundamentalism, because once again, YEC is basically evangelical fundamentalism trying to enforce its view. But, you know, you have that place where Jesus talked about Adam and Eve, you know, man created woman and the two shall be one. And it was about divorce. But they will say, well, see, Jesus believed in a literal Adam and Eve. And if you believe in evolution, then Jesus was wrong, and Jesus can't be wrong because he's God. The other one is that because we have a sinful nature, we get that, but through Adam, you know, through all of our parents and their parents, it all goes back to Adam. Mm-hmm. So the doctrine of original sin, or however you want to call it, leads into that. So it's all there. They have to interpret Scripture literally, and every word, every jot, every tittle has to be true. And so they're pretty much forced in their idealism with the fundamentalist view of the Bible to reject evolution.
Right. Yeah.
That's a very good point in terms of the doctrine of why Jesus was resurrected seems to be tied in with Adam. And if Adam is said to not exist or to be misinterpreted as not literal, then they fear that that's going to lead to the damnation of many people. But of course, that doesn't follow, right? That doesn't follow because clearly there are some issues with the literacy, taking the Genesis as literal, right? So, they take some things as literal in Genesis and some things as metaphorical, right? And as a result, that seems to me contradictory, or at least should lead them to some kind of cognitive dissonance. And that's where I find the issue here, right? Is that they seem to be able to hold these two positions simultaneously, and if somebody slightly sticks the wedge of doubt in between those two, they feel that their faith is going to crumble, right? And if their faith crumbles, then they think their religion crumbles, or their belief in religion crumbles. And that's what I find very disingenuous, because it's incredibly insecure, and it's almost an admission that they're going to be agnostic next week or next month or next year.
Right. Yeah, it's like they don't have any real faith at all. Or if you talk to if you talk to a devout Christian who believes in evolution and everything that science provides, they also have this humble attitude that I don't really understand everything about my religion, but I have faith. And they seem to have a deeper faith in that they admit that they don't have to take that literal interpretation of every single word in that book. It's more of a metaphorical interpretation, right? And Emery Moyna, this asshole that's on cell streams all the time, he calls Christians that do that goats, and he said that they're separating the sheep from the goats. And he calls the sheep are people that advocate for executing homosexuals and coming down on anything that isn't in their little fundamentalist package, right? And he calls all the other Christians goats.
Okay,
which
well,
is pretty
sure enough.
shitty.
Well, yeah, I mean, fair enough. But does he understand then that that's making Christianity a completely minority sect in the world? I mean,
exactly.
It's almost irrelevant. I mean, to say that probably means paganism is bigger than Christianity. There are probably more pagans in the world than there are Christians if you were to discount all Christians that believed in fundamentalism. I know it seems different from the American point of view, but outside of America, the fundamentalist side is just tiny, tiny number. There are probably more Scientologists than there are Christians, if you go by that definition of Christianity.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like I wrote an email to Sal and he got kind of shitty with me and he blocked me an email and and I just said, do you really want to die on this hill? I mean, why is this so important to you? This proving evolution didn't happen. It's just like, stop it. I don't know.
Yeah. Again, I don't personally. I go, yeah, go for it because, like I think Dawkins said it once. I'm glad that they're denying evolution because that it is a scientific fact. I mean, you can't deny that anymore. Maybe the details are slightly unknown, but the actual fact of evolution is known, and that's known through science and the scientific method. And if you want to deny that, well, that's easy. Then we can convert Christians because all we've got to do is convince them that evolution is true, and there's plenty of evidence for that.
Yeah.
So I go, yeah, okay, that's great. More power to you, because you just well, I won't use that. You use the word dying, a hill to die on, which I think has religious overtones. But I would say it just nails you to a wall which you don't want to be nailed to.
Right. Yeah, but on the other hand, they do give us interesting incentive to dig into the science. So I don't know.
Exactly. As well, I mean, I know more about evolution because of finding people like this. Yeah. I mean, like this. I don't believe. I mean, listening to Sal, right? I feel a strong sense of logic and reason, and trying to fit this square peg into a round hole, and to do it in a conscientious way. And for that, I would give him some kudos, right? Because it's not just a blind faith, right? He wants real faith, where it turns out that there is a logic behind it, which is why I sense that it can't last forever, right? For whatever reason that he actually has, and I'm sure there must be one, for him to hold these positions. Once that goes away, then the faith goes away. So that's Dawkins' point, of course.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know, and Sal does come up with good things, like he did this 3-part protein thing, and he is on this topoisomerase and zinc fingers, and he's been on it forever. That is his thing, right?
Right.
And I just recently did what I think is a really good video, and came back at him on all that, and I was kind of hoping he'd start to engage me, but apparently not. So. Kind of like on the fitness thing, I kicked his ass so bad he never wanted to talk about it with me again.
Yeah. So. Well, yeah, I did that to Angelo recently. But yeah, I think also, a lot of that is down to people whispering in the ear, right? Once you start getting that reinforcement, right, and people being dishonest and whispering in your ear dishonestly, it's very hard then to start changing your mind so easily.
Yeah, and that did happen to him. So
yeah, and that's why I wanted to give John because he obviously clearly was prepared to listen and say what was thought and present his position in a way which was to be understood and not to be a mystery. Anyway, I've just shouted a lot and said a lot of stuff. So Amy's in the room, and I love Amy so much. So let's see what she's got.
How are you guys?
Hey. Oh, we're today.
What was that?
We've had a bit of an emotional day today.
Has it been a roller coaster?
A bit of a roller coaster, yeah. I
saw
actually
you.
apologized to John Maddox, which is something new. So
Really?
yeah,
I think he's like the first person he's apologized to on this channel, which is kind of bizarre.
sincerely apologize to you. Yeah.
Now there we go.
But I did go
And-
off on a tangent with that one. So anyway, it was fair.
And hey, I
he was
love John. It's just we have different views. We'll say.
Oh, I do not love John.
Hey, Mac, I have a quick question for you.
Uh-huh.
If you know, but for a while there, we seemed to see that guy Dak everywhere. He was on everybody's channel and things, including yours. But now I don't see him anywhere. Do you know what's happened to him or anything?
He is doing well. I just recently heard from him on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
I think he's just taking a break, but I think he's just doing other stuff right now. But I think he'll come back. Exactly. And yeah, I found it interesting because you guys were talking about Sal, and I love both John and Sal. And I want to bring up a point that I couldn't bring up in the debate because it was an anti-theist debate, and it wasn't about why they believe. And I fought really hard to not talk about why they believe in the debate. But this is my new shtick, my new talking point, is I'm noticing I have not found a believer who believes for, I would say, a logical, rational, or empirical reason as their first experience. It has to be an experiential, emotional experience. And then what happens is after that, everything else starts to become science, logic, philosophy, blah, 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 blah. But
I agree. And they should leave it there.
But they rarely, and I'll use John, and I say this on every stream, John's shtick is genes, but he is a believer because he survived a horrible accident. I'm glad that he survived a horrible accident. And in that moment, he converted to Christianity. And I'm only telling you this because he says this live and publicly and in chat and all this stuff, but it isn't a point that he defends. They defend genes. Sal defends abiogenesis. He even says that abiogenesis is the thing that would convert him back to atheism or agnosticism. I am highly skeptical of that. I think that it's not a logical connection.
Take a look at private chat. We don't have to discuss this online, but anyway.
Did you post the thing I sent you the other day?
What's that? Oh.
The Evolution News article.
I'm looking into that one. I managed to get the paper downloaded, and I want to look at the two of them, and we do want to address that. Yes. Yeah,
I saw that the other day from Otangelo, and I was like, oh my god. Oh,
that is on my list, so I will put it on my list. But anyway, there's a little bit of a backstory there I'd like to discuss with you backstage, Amy, if you want to know what the truth is. But anyway,
okay,
I agree.
Absolutely, because that's all I care about.
I agree with you that it's primarily the feeling that gets you into religion. And I had the same experience when I was 15 years old, except I was an atheist before, during, and after. And I had the same damn feelings. And it was just that it landed on me, and I was of a particular culture, that it did not turn me to some sort of theism. Rather, it turned me to something I would call spirituality, or a strong spiritual connection in my life with the universe. And so it doesn't, but it's interesting. And that's why I quit watching Atheist Experience, because every time a believer would come on and start talking about this personal experience with God, Matt Dillahunty would shout them down instead of actually getting them to explain that experience, right? That feeling, because that is a feeling that I think all of us have had in some amount or another, like maybe a small dose, maybe a heavy dose like I had in our lives. We've all felt that same feeling, yet it doesn't cause us to adopt the doctrine, right?
And if I may make an adjacent point, it reminds me of the flat Earth debates that are highly technical and don't convince anyone,
Right.
Because you're not going to convince, in my opinion, it doesn't have to be an intellectually satisfactory answer. It has to be an emotionally satisfactory answer to them.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, and primarily what drives us is that emotional factor,
Yeah.
right? And
I'm not shitting on emotions. I know emotions get shit on a lot.
Yeah, they're great. I love emotions, but
I want to cue a Bee Gees song right now.
yeah, I don't want to let emotions control what I think about science when I'm doing or how to fix my car or something like that. I mean, I don't need emotions for that. But
in fact, if I can give context, emotions seem to be how we label the data. The data seems to be over here, and then how we feel about the data is like a label. It's raining outside. That could be a fact. How we feel about the fact that it's raining outside could change depending on the person.
yeah, and the interesting thing about the human brain is that you do not learn unless it is an emotionally salient point. And that's why it's so difficult sometimes to pass college courses, because you don't give a shit about that data, right? So you have to, in some way, there has to be some drive, like maybe the fear of failing the test will make you remember that, because stuff will not end up long-term in your cortex. It will not be assimilated into your cortex unless there's an emotional power behind it. So the things you will remember about today are the emotional things that happened, which is an interesting fact about the human brain. There's actual neurochemicals involved in long-term plasticity that require that there's some emotional content to what you learn. So if you want to learn something, jump off a building while you're memorizing the fact, and you'll remember it.
Mm-hmm. And I agree. I think you have to make the emotional decision to accept logic, and not everyone does.
Yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, I'm really interested in listening to believers talk about this personal, emotional connection to their faith and stuff like that, because I think that's really the most important part. So for Yaks, what is it that drives them? It seems to be this we're special and we're right and we're up against the entire world and the rest of the world is wrong. You know, I think that in some ways drives them. I don't know.
I do think there is a belief that if everyone becomes that exact religion of that exact schism or whatever, there will be world peace or whatever. I don't think that's true, but I think that's what they're selling.
Right. If everybody just believes that the earth is 6,000 years old, I don't know. God, that.
And we'll give you a brand new whole science to prove it. Right.
Oh, let's see. Oh shit! I just got an email. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. The thing I had up on the Cell video that he did on proteins. You remember he came on to Saturday Night at the Atheist? Maybe I'll play that clip. And this one really blew me away. And I still don't think he quite gets what he's talking about. It's kind of amazing to me. We were talking about the other day about protein evolution. Remember? Let me see if I can play the clip. Whoa.
Trying to break through the gates of hell there at the Saturday night Satan worship over at Speed of Sound's channel. And I was just typing in the chat.
Is that how he sees it, really? It's Satan? I didn't...
Well, that's the breakdown.
If it's Satan worship, I need to get a refund. There's far too little girls in this.
Yeah.
Okay. Far too few women in this chat to actually warrant my staying in hell.
Yep.
Poor Sal can't help but be passive
And
aggressive.
I said,
they just can't believe that atheists don't have a belief in the supernatural or deities. So
And
they have,
Satan.
they have to straw man it. They have to straw man it. But I mean, Satan's a deity of a type, isn't it? So
By
they
the
have
way,
to
Amy,
actually really do either we're suppressing it in our righteousness, or we really believe that Satan is the dog's father. It's just
no,
crazy. They won't listen, right? And that's why I don't take people that say this stuff seriously normally. But of course, I know that Sal's doing it to try and get under the skin. So it doesn't bother me.
but Amy, apparently in a debate the other night, you said something about if you had proof of the supernatural, you'd be a Satanist. Is that what I
I
heard?
want to be honest. I don't think that's quite what I said. What I was trying to explain, and I love that point because I did see the gears rolling, and then I was a genuine. I wasn't trolling, and I think that's what they were taking in. And so I was like, if you proved Yahweh or the God of the Bible was real, I would be a theist. That would suddenly make me a theist. And I made the point that Satan is a theist. He absolutely knows that God and Yahweh is real. The difference is I would not worship God. I then made I would say the furthermore claim that since I know his character, I'm fairly sure now being a theist, I know which team I would be on. I would be a literal Satanist. I would.
Amy, I'll do you one better. Even demons are theists.
Oh my
Indeed. I mean, under their if we're taking their canon, I mean, yeah.
Well, I like that Hitchin said something similar, but I do like the idea that Satan is the only one that didn't lie in the Bible.
Yeah, I mean, he was. He told them the truth. Now they say the apologetic that they did die eventually and all this, but
spiritually, just like
spiritually.
Like I make the joke that that Trump is still the president spiritually.
No,
anyway,
I've
heard about that like
what?
3 times. I've heard about that like 3 times about the debate the other night. So I haven't found the spot in the. I haven't found the spot in the debate where you said it, but I've heard about it. So you're going to be famous, Amy, for that comment.
And hey, like I said, I thought it was a good debate. Even I think everyone was fairly tame. They even said the theists were saying the raging atheist. The atheists were saying John was pretty tame. So it was good. But I think I made Sal. People questioned a lot when Sal was crying. And you know what? I actually take that in earnest. He seems to be genuine. It didn't seem to be an act. And I mean,
he was crying. Sorry, guys.
No, and I don't want to minimize it. I think we were talking about the problem of evil or something towards that. We were talking about heaven. I was trying to explain why alleviation of the fear of death is one of the most harmful traits that comes with religion. And he seemed to be running through the problem of evil through his head. Seemed to be implying that he was there were going to be people, his friends and loved ones, possibly in hell.
Wow, you are the theist whisperer.
But then you also have to think about what God is going to do to you if you're a believer and you make it to heaven, however, whatever your means of salvation is, and now you either know that they're burning forever in hell and torture and pain, and you don't care, or you don't remember. And in either place, God has to do something to you, for that to be true. And so, but is that the kind of person you want to be, who knows that somebody you love is in hell and then you don't care? Or will there ever be sadness and tears in heaven? Well, no, because, of what the Bible says about heaven. So I don't understand how Christians resolve that.
That's where faith comes in.
And it's a whole gradient. because it depends on what kind of hell they believe in. I'll go the most charitable form of hell that I've heard so far. Hell, for me, of the atheists, because it's the ones that I think will happen to us anyway, is that the atheists just disintegrate. I think is called annihilation theory. Somehow they get the magical ticket and then we just disappear. That's the kindest, gentlest version I've heard of that. I don't think most Christians actually believe that. I think most of them, it's the roasting and toasting, but I'm open-minded.
There is another apologetic of universalism. Right? Everybody goes to heaven. There's just different levels of it. But I mean, I think that, you know, Amy, the point you're making is so dead on here. The problem of evil, you know, we confront it every day when we get out of bed, right? And so you can't just wipe that away with some kind of bland apologetic. Right? It's too emotional, right? So I think that, I mean, when I say the problem of evil, I don't mean the logical problem, I mean the other one. And I think that converts more people. I've heard of people come up to me and say, well, why does this happen in the world? Why did this happen to me in the world? How can I hold faith when this kind of thing happens? And I think that converts more people away from Christianity than just about anything else.
And I will say these types of arguments seem to be more attractive to almost the agnostic theist. The Pascal's wager, the problem of evil. I find atheists actually either bat away Pascal's wager or find it easy to accept that there could be an evil God. But for agnostic theists and Christians and Muslims who are really trying to struggle with this hell thing, I think these two different arguments really play in.
Yeah, I would agree completely.
Yeah. I don't think that problem of evil thing should be the one that turns them away. I can understand that from a faith-based, spiritual-oriented Christianity. I can understand why there is evil in the world, that sort of thing, or why God would have a creation where evil was true. But then I'm coming at it from that Buddhist perspective, that evil is necessary. You know, that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, but when it's personal to you, right? I mean,
What's that?
When it becomes personal to you, then it's a different thing, isn't it? And then you really feel it as an
Well,
injustice.
yeah, but that's the whole thing about, okay, if you have faith, okay, in these 12-step programs, there's something called the 11th step. And one of the things they say is praying only for his will for us and the power to carry that out.
Can I also say those 12 step? I want to do an entire podcast on just that 12-step program specifically.
Oh, please, will you have me on?
Absolutely. Because most people don't realize how, like, it's not even. My joke is they get closer to Christianity than the Kalam ever does.
I know, yeah.
Like, they have all of these Christian premises. They start out real fuzzy, like higher power, and then they started adding the him pronouns, and then all of a sudden it's just like Jesus is gonna get us away from that alcohol. It's like, I feel like this is a different lesson plan.
There's a reason why that works, and it's really kind of involved in this whole spirituality thing. And yeah, I would love to talk about it, but I very much defend those 12-step programs as being viable methods, but they really could lighten up a little more on the God shit.
12-step, I mean, just play a numbers game. That's the whole mythic structure thing. They're borrowing from it. And we could have a secular version of that. And I think we probably should have a super secular version of that. But this one.
I mean, isn't that Satanism?
Probably. Well, this one is, speaking about intelligent design, this one is designed specifically like a 12-step program into Christianity. And then they're like, along the way, we hope you also lose an addiction or two.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole agnostic AA movement that basically has a refined revision of the 12 steps. And Alcoholics Anonymous approves these meetings. As long as you don't change the 12 steps, they don't like you to do that, but they will list those meetings. There's a whole group that's popping up agnostic AA, basically. And but anyway, I'd like to talk about the philosophy behind that. And there's some really interesting things. And I think that one part in the 11th step just kills me when people pray for their cancer to be cured or their friend's cancer to be cured. That's not what the fucking thing says. It says, it doesn't say pray for what you will for somebody. It says pray for what happens. Pray for acceptance in the universe, that sort of thing. But it's really an interesting philosophy, the whole thing. But I've been involved in it since I was 24 years old. So I've had some history, and it saved my life. That shit saved my life. So, but I'm not an idiot about what saved my life. I know it was psychology, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In this country, we don't have the same thing. Alcoholics Anonymous is not a Christian-based organization.
Right. Yeah, and in Minnesota, it's not either. It's primarily, in fact, saying Jesus at an AA meeting is considered kind of a faux pas. It's not something people look at you like, oh, fucking get off that shit, because most drunks don't roll that way, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, and for the same reason, it just ties in with what Sal's position in some way, which is if you then go on to discover or you lose your faith in inverted commas, then presumably the danger of going back to alcohol is much, much greater.
Yeah.
If you recognize that it's a psychological condition, then
you
can lose your faith, but you're not going to lose yourself,
And I used to think it didn't happen. I have now come across people who have told me. I was like, you're telling me we prove no God exists and you're going to go around, you're going to murder, you're going to kill, you're going to steal and all this stuff? They're like, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay,
that's
then
a problem.
You know what? We're just going to put the Bible back in your hand and push you away for now, and you just go be you.
Right.
Yeah, this is why people like G-Man should remain Christians.
Like I can't tell you how many people have come into the 12-step program and in like they're brand new, right? They're newly sober and they're really gung-ho and they're really getting into it. And then they start, getting into it like really crazy. They start like they'll take the topic at every meeting and they start volunteering. And pretty soon they say, oh, and we started Bible class in the middle of the week. And then pretty soon they're going to 3 Bible classes. And then 30 days later, they're drunk. I mean, they just go off this fucking deep end. And it seems like them going to Bible classes is almost a predictor that they are not going to get the recovery from alcohol that they had hoped for. They almost invariably go get drunk. So, I mean, the whole God thing is bullshit and it does damage. But for the most part, the programs themselves do not run that way. They do not rely on the God thing. And that's kind of a myth about, particularly about Alcoholics Anonymous. And maybe down south, it's a little heavier, but up north here, nah, that isn't what happens. So, but anyway, you've got to have me on.
Would I be able to share my screen?
Oh, yes, you can share a screen.
I want to show you because I swear this is it. If William Lane Craig could present this argument, he would. So here's the 12 steps. Tell me that this is, mildly religious. All right.
Yeah, they got the God words in there. But do you know how that happened? There was a big fight when they wrote those 12 steps. And the fight was between Minneapolis and Michigan. And Michigan was a bunch of Godheads, Christians. And in Minneapolis, there were a bunch of Native Americans. And the Native Americans were saying, no, you got to take the God shit out of there, right? And so they came up with this higher power thing. But then they decided to do a compromise. And this is the compromise they came up with. And
oh no! So here's the thing: everything that you just said, Speed, I 100% agree with. Is that okay. I know they work. I know that the community can come together and help people. I know that for most part, this is like the 10 Commandments, is that they almost that everyone says they're like, yeah, I'm a fan, and it's like, can you name all 10 Commandments? They're like, don't kill people, don't steal. I think those are the only two, right? And you're like, I mean, those are the best. Those are the good ones.
Those are the only good ones.
And so I didn't even realize how religious it was until I had a friend. And so
yeah,
I actually want to do almost like a reverse secular version of this. I'm getting kind of obsessed with this, not obsessed, but just like how I'm learning about it, and it's just some of the language, like, so here's 11, right? This is what you were talking about.
Yep, sought through prayer and
Prayer
meditation,
and
which I approve of.
Our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out.
Right. Not praying for what you think should happen, but praying. And basically what that's... The thing is, like, when I first came into the program was 1974, and here I am, a raging Buddhist. And in 1974, I read those steps and I said, holy shit, this is basically a Buddhist path to enlightenment. Okay. And I reinterpreted everything. So I never had a problem with the God words, because I had a much wider view of what spirituality and humanity was from a secular point of view, right? So, I mean, I understood that enlightenment and all this Buddhist bullshit is all about psychology. It's all
and
about
what I
how you
will
live
say,
your life.
Speed, you brought up Buddhism and evil. That is where I think Buddhism and Christianity really differ, is that, I mean, just taking on the fact that you can accept evil and that people are evil, I mean, God has to be true good according to these Christian, Jewish, Muslim faiths. And so I completely understand where your path makes sense. And I just wish that, it's this one guy, and he doesn't seem to be all truly good.
Yeah. Oh, that one. That one guy.
At least they put the word meditation in there, so that is the right idea. I mean, psychologically, one might call it mindfulness, and that's being aware of your thoughts.
Yeah.
So,
but I could interpret each of those 12 steps for you in a secular manner and tell you why it is that they would work on alcoholism. And if you want to hear that whole story, please have me on. I may change. I hope to change some of your views on it, but I also would love to. I'm going to, because of this online ability, superpower we now have with Zoom after the pandemic, I'm going to start a couple of agnostic AA meetings. And I shouldn't have said AA, I should have said 12-step meetings. But anyway, so I'm really interested in that approach, because there are so many people out there that need this, that are never going to accept. They're never going to accept the God bullshit, you know?
This is also similar to missionary work, isn't it? Because they go abroad, they go, okay, we'll help you dig a well or give you some charity, but do you mind listening to a prayer about Jesus first? It's just so disingenuous, right?
Yeah, that's evil shit right there. That's my definition of evil.
From my perspective, this is the same thing. This is trying to inject Jesus into a psychological state of mind. And get you when you're at your lowest and open to being.
No, that is just not that is not Alcoholics Anonymous. That is not their intent at all. You got to get to know some drunks. I mean, no, it just doesn't work that way.
And I would say it works on intent. Speed, I could tell you want to get your only goal, your one and only goal is helping people. And that should be the one and only goal.
And that is the only goal.
Exactly. My only big beef, and we could change it, is it, some of these, they have ulterior motives. But I feel when I listen to you, yeah, I know, I saw that. Indeed. Sometimes I make myself a little redundantly redundant, but don't mind that. But But I agree, Speed, because I mean, I've met people who have stopped doing the worst of the worst because of programs like this or analogous programs that use a ramp and a community to get people out of bad places.
Yeah. Well, there's something called Team Spirit or Teen Spirit, Teen, T-E-E-N. In Minneapolis, it started, right? And it's spread all over the fucking place. But their whole thing is taking those 12 steps and turning them into a religious battering ram. And because they used to just do it with teenagers, but now they've extended it to adults. But they have this whole reinterpretation of that program as that the reason that you drink is because you sin. And you have to accept your sins in order to get sober. And I mean, they have turned it into something really, truly creepy. And that is the kind of stuff that I really hate.
And to me, the main theme shouldn't be like surrender. It should be empowerment. Like you're flipping it. You're saying we are going to take something that we want to get a grip on, and through myself and the moral support of everyone around me, I am going to overcome it.
Yeah, and the first step is often misinterpreted as being powerless, where it simply says that you're powerless over a chemical, just like you're powerless over cyanide. Some alcoholics really shouldn't drink ever, like me. Like I should never put alcohol in my mouth because I end up dancing on the table half an hour later and blackout drunk 3 hours later. But that's what it's about. It's not about, and it is a program of empowerment. It's all about basically changing your entire life, but you do it through surrender. And the surrender is really often misunderstood as surrendering your power, where what you're surrendering is your stupid ideas about alcohol and about you and alcohol.
Now I wanted to play an ELO song.
Which one?
There's one that has surrender. I can't remember.
Yeah.
It's an upbeat song, but yeah, it's a cool song.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm telling you this because
Hello, rocks.
I'm really not contributing. I think I'm going to ban myself.
I unbanned part of Danny's accounts. I didn't unban his 3 sock accounts, but I unbanned part of his accounts. So, but Danny's still not fucking welcome here.
Does he have an account called EvoTard?
Oh, EvoTard. What is that?
I was asking if Danny had one because I timed somebody out earlier today that was just kind of sounded like Danny, but
it was probably him.
Yeah, I timed him out, but he hasn't returned. So,
oh shit!
But I didn't know if that was something you already banned or.
Yeah, I don't know how many sock accounts that kid has, but he came on with 5 different accounts. I kept banning.
And Amy, I think I overtalked you. My apologies.
Oh no, I get excited and then I try and overtalk, and then I stop myself. Hopefully, I just was seeing in chat. I think another phenomena going with that 10 Commandments analogy is the 10 Commandments is in every book, but you find liberal, conservative, and everything in between, theists, churches, and all over. So I imagine that whoever is the leader of whatever the organization, they choose how hard they want to ride that point. And do they want to go lean towards the religious? Do we want to lean towards the, maybe they're super liberal and so they're actually not leaning on those points. My big point is just that it's very much a cultural thing here. We just say AA, and it's just like the 10 Commandments, following through with that analogy, even myself until like my 20s did I actually read the list and go, okay, that is a little bit more religious than I thought. But yes, it probably depends. You probably could go into an AA and have a good time and Jesus never comes up. And kinky. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I say, my experience is Minnesota and it never comes up. So I don't know. And then Ohio is the other place I went to meetings. It was a little more in your face out there, but not much more. So I don't know. But I'm putting a link in public chat to AAagnostica.org, and they do a lot of really good work. And everybody should know about that. So anyway. but yeah, let's please have me on and listen to my interpretation of each of
Absolutely.
those 12 steps, and then consider what we might do to make them God-free, because God damn it, we really need this right now.
Well, we could make our own 12-step.
We can, but as long as they don't miss the fucking point, throw the baby out with the bathwater. You don't want to do that part. So,
Well, the great thing about having, I would say not an atheist, but a secular, is if you're doing it, Speed, like I said, you only have one goal in mind. You're not trying to sell anything. You're just trying to help people. And
Yep.
that's
sober the fuck up. I like sober up. I've been sober 14 years now.
woohoo.
Yeah, pretty happy with that. I never thought I would be able to continuously maintain sobriety for that period of time. I had made it like 8 or 9 years before. I think maybe even 10 once, but it wasn't good like it has been. It has been good. So my life started.
That's awesome.
My life started at 57, to tell you the truth. I mean, that's when I really became alive. And I am so fucking happy about that. So anyway, we're nearing 4 o'clock, boys and girls. Should we shoot this in the head?
Woohoo.
Go backstage for a minute? I got to tell Amy a story.
Good. Well, we covered a lot tonight.
Yeah, we covered a hell of a lot. Got a little emotional.
And
Actually, Maddox came on, and after we told him to cool off, he did, and he, and I agree with him on a hell of a lot of stuff. So that was an amazing experience that I'd never had before. So yeah, interesting. Okay, guys, we're going to end the broadcast. So all you out there, thank you for showing up. We had like 29 people at one time, and I appreciate that. So goodbye, cruel world.
Well, I was going to end it on a positive note.
You could try that.
This game is called Donut County.
And how long does it go?
It's just the ending of it. I think it's just you make a hole. Oh, it's got raccoons in it and stuff.
Oh, raccoons!
It has a hole. Well, you missed the Ferris
I
wheel.
got brutalized by a really fat sheriff with a lot of cavities in that county one time. So that's not positive to me, man.
Are you a raccoon right now?
Yeah, you're supposed to be controlling an app that makes a hole in the ground and sucks up things and gets larger.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you something, Speed, which was that alarm that you've got. Is that bad company?
That what?
The alarm that you've got, or something that goes off. Is it bad?
It's my phone, and I've got Orphan Black, the theme song from Orphan Black, the TV series.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what plays. So if you look up the theme song for Orphan Black, it's kind of a short little song, but it's really haunting and cool. So I don't know if you've seen Orphan Black or not, but it's this wonderful actress who plays 7 different parts, and she is so amazing. You've got to check it out.
Yeah,
it's about people that were cloned by some evil genetic corporation, and it's just a wonderful story.
Yeah, I can't remember the actress's name, but anytime she's in something, she does a fantastic job.
Holy shit. I mean, she did 7 parts in this series, and she played, and they're all so different, like different personalities, but they're clones of herself. And there's this crazy Russian woman who I just absolutely love that she plays. And you just got to watch it. I mean, it's just really cool, especially the scene where she comes out bloody, covered in blood with a bag of money and said, "I got the refund." It was just like the most perfect thing I'd ever seen. But anyway,
she had a really good role too in that Perry Mason series on HBO. She played like a Pentecostal preacher or something.
Yeah,
she did a really good job on that one.
Check out the series; it's a real treat, and it's pretty dark, which is wonderful. So. Okay, we're going to end now. Have you showed the hole?
I'm trying to get to the point. I never played this far, so.
I love the cell shading. Very pretty.
I don't think we can wait, Top Dog.
Yeah, it's almost there. It seems like.
It seems like. Oh my God. It's a black hole.
No idea.
I recently told Standing for Truth that he doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground when it comes to science. Or shit from Shinola, which is a really old phrase.
There we go.
I don't know if anybody knows what Shinola is.
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's very important not to confuse it with shit. When you're shining your shoes.
That would be bad.
Oh.
Okay. Are we there yet?
I have no idea.
Oh my God. Oh, come on. We're going to end the stream, guys. Okay?
I'm messing up the raccoon's Ferris wheel. Making it spin faster, it looks like.
But Rocket
There
Raccoon
you go.
is doing good. Oh,
What
Wow.
the fuck? Just, what?
Reminds me of the movie 1941.
It's a black hole. Like everything falls into the hole and then you're done with the game.
Yep.
And that was supposed to
There's
cheer
like a
us
little
up.
cutscenes.
Yeah. It just
I didn't know.
the utility of the universe. Thank you. Thank you.
So we're all going to end in a black hole. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
It was
Top
supposed to be the
Dog.
raccoons. Sorry, it was supposed to be the raccoons on the Ferris wheel. That was supposed to be positive.
Oh, I see. Okay, ending the broadcast. Goodbye, cruel world. Again.
bye, everyone.